Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach Podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Yeah. All right. So Michelle Kaye. So here is where I say, welcome to the Dear Business Coach podcast. And I'm going to read this bio. I have some questions to ask you for my own interest about software and computer help, computer training. But actually, we haven't even touched the iceberg, as far as when I talked with you originally. So I'm actually going to learn a lot more today, just for the first time by talking with you. So here we go. Michelle Kaye, you are is a computer coach who helps business owners spend less time on their computer applications trying to solve problems like dealing with email so that you aren't overwhelmed, or getting started in your online content journey with a blog, video, or podcast so they can spend more time focusing on their business. So we're sharing tips and tricks to save you from wasted time and excess frustration on the standard computer applications, from Microsoft to Google Productivity Suite to communications like Slack and Zoom. Zoom's what we're on today. She's joining us today to share some tips on choosing the best tech, hardware, and software to suit your business needs. Welcome, Michelle Kaye.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here, Elizabeth.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started as a coach.
I have been in computers pretty much for my entire career so far. I'm apparently one of these weird people who actually found what they wanted to do, discovered they were pretty good at it, and has just continued through. So I was actually back at college, and I'm in the UK, so that's the bit before college for you. It's we actually have college and university. So it was in my college days. I had
Okay.
this thing about, as it was called then, training. And I got computers. It was as simple as that. And I heard this phrase of trainer because, of course, when you're in education, you only hear about teachers and tutors. Um, so I decided that that's what I wanted to do, and I looked for roles about that. I was very lucky that I found a couple of companies that actually uh, were willing to take a chance on me without any real experience. I had my computer education, um, and it has quite literally snowballed since then. I now call myself a computer coach because most people still don't recognize IT trainer or computer trainer. That's more of a company thing rather than individuals. So I thought it would be more informative or understanding to be able to hear a better word that you actually recognize. So that's where computer coach came into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Computer coach. And you may have opened up, for me when we started talking, I asked you all kinds of questions and you kind of had to bring me back into what you specialize in. But you're right. If I just saw a profile of like a IT professional or IT help or something, I would think, okay, well, she works for a company. All right.
Yeah.
That's for somebody, that's for her to help a company. But um, so before I keep going, I need to remember, tell us where we can find you right away, where to visit you online.
Oh, well, being a computer person, I'm not quite everywhere, but I'm in a fair few places. So my website is Michelle Kaye, that's the letter K, training.co.uk, because remember, I'm UK based. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My business is also on link on Facebook, so you can search for me on Facebook as well. And of course, I've got my own YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/ at Michelle Kaye, all one word. And that has got over 100 videos now. They're all short topic focused, helping you with tips and tricks to just make life that little bit easier with the software that you use every day.
Yeah, perfect. And so your YouTube videos are really easy to watch. Um, when we think about making videos, I try to stay away from too much screen share, right? Because I'm afraid that people don't want to pay attention to me if I'm just showing something on a website. However, when I
Complete
need
opposite
to
for me.
when I need to see what you're doing, right? It's fantastic. And so your videos are easy to follow. And like you said, they're short and specific to the tip, right? So I
Yeah.
can go to Michelle Kaye's YouTube video, Michelle Kaye's training YouTube videos, and find how to search for a file.
Yeah, there's so many of them today.
Right. So that's good. That's exactly what makes it enjoyable and fun is I can go right to your videos and find exactly what I'm looking for that tip. And there aren't any confusing tech terms that don't make sense, right? Find a file using Microsoft, find a
I
file
hope
in your
not.
Google Drive.
Yes. Yeah. Although there's a lot of similarities between, well, pretty much everything, there's always some things that are specific to each application. And I try to be inclusive, not exclusive. So there's even some stuff for Mac users as well.
Right, right, right. So that's exactly what I was going to say next too, really quick before I get into asking you important questions for the reason why you're here today. But yeah, so it's not that I can't use a Mac versus a PC, but I'm just familiar with one, and being able to watch your video means that I can figure out where the buttons are. I mean, huge thing just to know where the buttons are. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's one
okay.
of those silly things. When you know where something is, your eye goes straight to it. But when you don't know, you bounce around the screen, which is why I like having pictures or the videos so that you can actually follow me through. And the nice thing is, quite often when you're doing a slightly more involved process, you're usually wondering, did I click on the right thing? Have I got the right stuff on the screen? So that's why I like the graphic, the visual to show you what you're doing, because I think that's really important.
Yeah. No, big, 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 big help. Okay, let's see. And so actually I do want to start with the first question is one that I am personally wrestling with right now. What computer do you really need in your business?
Oh, so I think it's pretty obvious that you need something. It's as simple as that. You have to have something today. Social media and just keeping in touch with hopefully all your clients. That's the big thing. However, what specifically you need pretty much boils down to what's going to suit you.
Announcing a course for therapists starting a private practice. Visit attainablevision.biz. The affiliate link is on Dear Business Coach podcast.com, bright big purple square that says starting a private practice. This is an affiliate ad read brought to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. My name is Elizabeth, host and producer of the Dear Business Coach podcast and producer at Walker Consulting Works. And Dr. Brianna Willie is a guest, a former guest of the podcast. She was a guest back in February talking about her coaching business. She helps private practice owners. She helps people who are in the helping business. So if you want to check out her course, this is Starting a Private Practice. Join Dr. Brianna Willie and visit dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Find Dr. Brianna Willie's affiliate link there in the bright, beautiful purple square that says Starting a Private Practice.
Now, of course, if you're starting your business, you may be thinking, oh my God, that's going to cost me thousands of pounds or dollars, depending on where you're based. And actually, it doesn't have to. So you could actually start, if it will work for you, with your mobile phone. I mean, let's be honest, how many people don't have a smartphone these days? So if you're talking about building your reputation, sort of getting yourself out there, we're probably talking about social media. Let's be honest, All of the social media is on your phone. Can you record things on your phone? Well, yes, absolutely. If you think of all the reels, all the shorts, you can use your phone to do that. It doesn't have to be amazing. So that's a really good starting point. However, depends on obviously what you're doing. So if you're creating a lot of content, depends on the type of content. Are you somebody who prefers like a blog? In which case, you're going to be doing a lot of typing. Some people love to type on their phone, and there's so many different ways of doing it. And if that works for you, that's great. But if you prefer to have a keyboard, you might find having something a little bit larger than a phone is going to be better for you. If you're doing a podcast, for example, what's going to suit you. So it doesn't have to be a super duper jolly expensive machine. You can start off really small, what you already pay for, like a phone. If you are traveling around all the time, you want something portable. This could be a tablet or it can be a small laptop. Don't forget, you can get quite small ones. I know over here in the UK, we can actually buy usually Windows rather than Mac, um, laptops for just a couple of £100. So you don't have to buy the most expensive thing today. You can build up to it. So, what device do you need? The one that does what you want and is going to more importantly fit in with your budget today. As you get more used to what you're going to be using and what you like, and more importantly, what you really don't like, then you can look at expanding that. Oh, and before I finish, you also need to consider what software you're using. Some software needs Windows, some software needs a Mac, so that will also help you make a decision on which device you want to use.
Okay, okay. Well, right. So what kind of software that would be a different a rabbit hole for me because I'm not even sure if I know where to start. So but one of the first major questions that I could say would be a good time to ask you here is this would be a good time to ask you space, right? If I'm going to be using a lot of um, cloud services, if I
Mhm.
don't want to spend money on having a machine that has the most amount of space for storing videos and audio files, is that okay? Can I buy a basic machine that doesn't have a whole lot of space, or is that a mistake?
Um, so there's two parts to that. What you've actually got is the space that you need for the software to run, which is actually the software to be stored and for to do its work. That one does ideally need to be actually physically on the machine, part of the machine. This doesn't mean you need the largest thing on the planet, but you just need enough. In terms of your information that you're storing, no, absolutely, you can work pretty much 100% on the cloud. So, for example, Google Chromebooks has very little built-in space, and they designed everything to work through the internet and to be stored in the cloud.
Mhm.
Um, it also depends on, at the end of the day, it's always at the end of the day, let's be honest. Um, it depends on how you want to work and also where you're working. Are you somewhere with a good internet connection? If the answer is no, then
Mhm.
basing all your files on the internet is not going to be the best option. But it doesn't all have to be stored actually on your computer. You've always got external drives. You've got external SD cards, the mini cards that you can connect up. So they're really pocketable. But you've then got, if you want more space, you've got external drives, and they have gotten so physically small over the years. It's ridiculous. Um,
Yeah.
and then if but you do need to consider, obviously, if you're creating stuff like videos, they're going to be much larger files. Podcasts are still going to be fairly big, but not as big as the video. And then if you're just working with text or numbers, so just standard files, productivity type files, then that's going to be much, much smaller. So it really does boil down to what type of content you're dealing with, where you are and where you want to be. If you're traveling around, you want something that's small and compact that you can travel with. Um, if not, if you're fixed in one place, you can get a physically larger, but maybe a smaller storage space. But again, they vary in price, so it's what's going to fit in your budget. So just a few extra things to sort of consider. with what you want. And don't forget, you've got the other option is you can do a mix of it. You can have external storage for backups, because remember, backing up is really important. You can have your working files in one place, let's say that's Google. You can have secondary copies or ones that you share with others on something else like Dropbox. So you can do a range of different locations, but it all boils down to, again, what's your budget, where you're located, what have you got access to, and more importantly, what you don't have access to.
I'm also doing a shout out to a friend of the podcast today. His name is Favor Alusigan, and he's on LinkedIn. So I'm telling you to go check out Favor on LinkedIn. Follow his profile. He's a digital marketing strategist and lead generation expert. And he introduced me to my podcast guest, Deneen L. Garrett, back in the fall. He has been following me, supporting my podcast and LinkedIn. He's FAVOUR-OLUSEGUN, and wanted to give him a shout out. Thank you so much for connecting me with awesome people to this podcast. Yeah, that's actually a fantastic thing to consider, is hybrid first, or how you're using it, your location, the strength of your internet connection.
Mm.
Okay. Next question. Let's see. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, so actually that is it is huge. So I understand the concept of, right, you need enough space that's running memory is the way that I say that,
Mhm.
right? Versus actual storage. And that's what I run into is, well, how much space do I actually need to run the programs? So the answer is, well, you're storing too much on your hard drive.
Quite possibly. So let me break that down for you. Let
Okay,
me get a little bit technical, hopefully not too
please.
technical.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to think about it is that you have got short-term and long-term memory. So for those who would like to be a little bit more technical, your short-term is RAM, RAM. That's actually called random access memory,
Mhm.
because technical loves an abbreviation or an acronym for everything. And then you've got your longer term storage, which is actually the drives. So these can be the hard drives physically in, hard drives connected, or even for the data storage, not the program storage, that's where your cloud stuff comes in. So as a general rule, that short-term RAM memory, um, some machines you can upgrade it, some machines you can't. So for example, laptops, some of them actually will have a slot at the back that you can take the old cards out, which will be a set size, that's what you purchased, and you can put replacements in. If you're talking about your phone, generally speaking, you can't. Some of them may have like an SD card slot, so that's sort of their longer term storage, but their short term memory is fixed. A lot of Apple's products are fixed memory, so you've got what you've got, but then you've got your website, your web storage, or your online storage to then expand that out for you. So it's a mixture of the long-term storage where the software is stored and the short-term memory that you need to consider. So in terms of the long-term memory where the software is stored, the software should tell you. So when you go on to buy a store and you buy something, whether you're looking at the box or you're looking at the description, it will say either in megabytes or gigabytes, the
Mhm.
minimum amount that it needs. You need that free. So that's rule number one. The short-term memory, don't forget what it means is that every time you switch the power off, that clears. So you get sort of fresh memory, fresh short-term memory every time you switch your computer on. But there's stuff that's always going to be used. However, in addition to that space to actually save the program files, you may find that some programs also then require a certain amount of storage space. So this is long-term storage space while they're working. So you do need to consider that. Some of them will work they'll say, we recommend you have X amount of space, let's say 20 megabytes. And if you don't have that, it'll still work. It just won't do all the facilities that you may want. So best that you can afford. And I say that all the time. It's always the best that you can afford. Please don't buy more than you can afford. Don't put yourself into debt to get this technology. You can always upgrade it. You can always expand it later. But the best that you can afford today without putting any strain on yourself, that's what you want to go for.
Okay. I'm taking notes, so that's what's going on here while I'm looking down. Cool. Okay, that is helpful. And yes, it is very tempting. I want to spend money thinking I'm going to be really happy with my purchase, and I'm always glad when somebody says do what you can afford, not what you think you're supposed to. So
And the little details, the other tip to add to that is if you know that you need specific software, you know
yeah.
that you want this or that, Microsoft, Google, Zoom, whatever, find out what program, what operating system, what machine it will work on, and how much space it needs. You want to do that research before you start looking for the hardware for that new computer, because you don't want to buy something that is fairly cheap and you suddenly start putting stuff on, it goes and it starts growing, it goes, I'm full, and you now can't do with it anything with it because you've just wasted your money. So if there are specific software that you know you have to have, calculate it out, make sure that whatever you're buying is going to fit all of that with a bit of space to spare. Not a
So
problem at
Michelle,
all.
tell us again, where can we connect with you and find you online?
So my website is Michelle Kaye, that's the letter K, training.co.uk. You can find me on LinkedIn as both my personal and my business. You can find me on Facebook. And of course, if you like some tips and tricks, don't forget to check out my website, my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com at Michelle slash at Michelle Kaye, and there are loads of quick tips to help you there.
Thank you so much for coming to the Dear Business Coach podcast, Michelle Kaye. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here, and I hope I've helped your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.